I was asked today, why is it that it seems that in this period, old people have a very hard time. It seems that very many old people are ending their lives in states of loneliness, desperation, despair. I have thought about it for quite a long time, and I came to the conclusion already some time ago that there are three main reasons why it seems that the quality of life or the state of mind of old people today becomes more and more dire. Of course, there are many who enjoy a very wonderful twilight of their life on this planet, but I'm talking about generalities. The first reason is because that today it's stressed very much upon prolonging the life out of the context of the quality of living. Through Western medicine, we find ways to prolong more and more the life, sometimes in artificial means, but at the cost of continuing living in states of sickness, of pain, situations which are only increasing the suffering. Now, I believe that this is partially because that today life has become the highest goal on its own. Now, when life is the highest goal, it means there is nothing left to live for. Because if life is the goal, then the goal of life is to live. But that is not leaving the possibility of dedicating your life to something, because if you dedicate your life to something, that means there is a goal beyond life, something higher than life. That is what has made it that today people don't dedicate themselves to something, are not ready to sacrifice themselves for something, because the only reason to exist today is to exist, which is creating an existence without a purpose, or a life without a purpose. A second cause to this situation is the fact that we are becoming less and less communicative. Now, this might seem a very strange statement because today we are so connected. People, on average, check their Facebook and Twitter 7 times a day on their smartphones. We are connected all the time through the internet. People are SMSing continuously, and yet we are so disconnected today from each other. Our communications are very impersonal, are very mechanical, are digitalized, and there is no human connection. That's why it's possible for somebody to have 5,000 friends on Facebook and yet be completely alone. Because those friends are not really our friends. They're not really people that we know, most of them. There is not a heart connection. As a matter of fact, this form of communication is making us more and more disconnected, which is making us to be more and more alone. And then as old age creeps in, we find ourselves increasingly alone, and this loneliness becomes something quite unbearable. While in the past, old people were surrounded by their families, loving them, and that was making old age becoming like the end of a very wonderful meal. The third reason is that I believe that today we tend very much not to live our lives. Instead of living our lives fully, really experiencing every moment, every experience, being enriched by it, we have an attitude of surviving life, trying to survive day by day, not to get wet by the streams of life, not to get touched by it, trying to stay cool. When we have this kind of attitude, obviously we don't get touched by life. And from the perspective that life is not a goal on its own, but life is meant for us to experience, to experiment with many different things, to be in different situations, and through all these situations and experiences, learn and evolve. If we do not let ourselves experience life fully, but we try to stay away from it, then of course we don't learn anything from life, we don't get anything from life. And then when life is finished, we have the feeling that we have not achieved what we wanted, we have not had enough. You can compare it with a meal. If you go to the meal and you eat and you enjoy and you taste all the flavors, then when the meal is done, you feel very satisfied, very fulfilled. So it is at the end of life when you feel that you have really enjoyed, you drank all the sap of life, you lived every moment intensely. But if you go to the meal and despite all the wonderful foods on the table, you only touch a little bit, you only taste a little bit, you don't want to touch too much because you're afraid to get fat, you don't touch that because you're not sure if you like it, you don't dare to try anything, then eventually it's time to close the restaurant, and when they come to take the food from the table, you are still hungry and you are desperate to get the food back because they are throwing you out of the restaurant and you are still hungry. And that's how it is when our end of our days on this planet come, and we feel that we have not lived enough, we have not experienced enough, and then we have a feeling of disillusionment that life is ending and we still have not experienced, our heart is still thirsty. And when that comes, that's a very hard thing to deal with. Yet I believe that this situation doesn't have to be like that. This is a warning for all of us, also already when we are young, to aim to really live life, to really experience it fully, to really create human connections with as many people as possible, and to really use our life for what it's for. It's a question that we should all put ourselves. What am I living for? What am I waking up in the morning for? And if we've come already to the situation that we are in our old age and we have not done it until now, and now we get the wake-up call, then still to embrace those last days, those last years, because even if we only have a year left and we choose to live it fully, that year lived fully can be more fulfilling than an entire lifetime feel which is lived in this attitude of surviving life. So it's never late, it's never too late. And even if it is coming to you, this message, very late in life, still, one day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, experience them completely. This is what life is for.